I'm Casey McCarty, and welcome to COM 445 Talk, your student-run, student-produced talk show. My guest today is an NDSU alumnus from the class of 2003 who graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in Speech Communication. He is now being awarded the 2017 NDSU Horizon Award. The award is given to recognize NDSU graduates for their early career achievements in the 15 years following graduation at NDSU. After his time at NDSU, he focused his attention to the United States Navy, graduating the top of his class in all three phases of flight training, becoming one of the Navy's best fighter pilots. Rising to the rank of lieutenant in the Navy, he became a Top Gun instructor and trained over 200 pilots. He was selected to represent Top Gun among the Air Force, Marines, and partnering countries in developing tactics for F-35 fighter jets, co-writing the first F-35 Tactics, Techniques, and Procedures Manual. His military honors include the Air Medal, the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal, and the VFA 105 Pilot of the Year. And here he is, Mr. Isaac Long. How are you doing today?
Good, Casey. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So first of all, what are your general thoughts on receiving the 2017 Horizon Award?
You know, it was a big honor to find out that I was going to get this. It also, provided a little bit of reflection as to what my time at NDSU has really meant for me in my career at this point in time. I think that being here at NDSU was a really formative period in my life. It's like to figure out kind of who I am and what's important to me, and to have the opportunity to to represent our school in hopefully a positive light. It's been a real honor.
And since you've graduated, coming back on campus, what's coming through your mind being back in Fargo territory?
It's different. There's a lot of construction that's gone on. The upgrade to Menard Hall is certainly a nice addition.
It's a lot different after it fell down.
So the city's changed a little bit since I've been here, and it's kind of, nostalgic, I guess, to be back.
All right, and in the Navy, after flying, I'm assuming, numerous aircraft, receiving all these awards, what are you most proud about?
Most proud about? I think that just given where I came from in my life and what I wanted to do, like graduating from Top Gun was probably like what I wanted to do when I was 6, and so kind of getting actually there was probably the thing I would look back at the most.
And did you have any military or naval background in your life or your family before enlisting?
I have like a great uncle that was in World War II or something to that extent, but the military background of my family is not extensive. My brother and a number of my cousins joined, all kind of the post 9/11 time frame, but there wasn't like a strong military bearing when I was a child.
So then how did you get involved in the military?
Primarily through my brother. He was recruited out of here, an NDSU grad in 2001, to be a submarine officer. And then I kind of followed his footsteps, I guess you might say. Okay.
And I'm sure most of the viewers at home, and I know you and I probably, have watched the hit movie Top Gun. I know life isn't all sand, volleyball, and blue jeans. So I guess what was your day-to-day like at Top Gun?
So I also watched that movie like probably 100 times, and while I was here, frequently it was on. Life out there is not quite as glamorous as you might imagine. Tom Cruise isn't hanging out there all the time. It's a little bit more work, I guess, probably what I'd best describe it as. On a day-to-day basis, typically what we were doing is training students coming through the course, which would usually involve about 3 hours of briefing and preparation for a flight evolution that would be like 4 hours, followed by a debrief of about like 6 to 8 hours, depending on what the evolution was. And the next day you'd kind of come back and do that again. We'd run 4 classes a year, and that was kind of just on repeat, I guess.
And what was the most testing or most difficult part about Top Gun?
There is certainly times, and this happens to everybody, me included, where like you start to wonder if you can do it, and that's a tough thing when you're in a spot of something you've been working towards your whole life, and you start to have to face the prospect that like you might not get to where you thought you were going to, and the kind of introspection and ability to sort of like step up to the challenge and like sort of let it go, and if it works out, I'm going to do the best I can, and hopefully it does. And if it doesn't, like, there's somewhere else where I'll be okay. And kind of getting through that process was, yeah.
And now we're going to take a short commercial break, but we will be back in about a moment.
Founded in 1985, the Missouri Valley Football Conference has established a tradition of FCS football excellence. Competing at the highest level of NCAA Division I, student athletes at its 10 institutions demonstrate character, passion, and integrity as they grow as a student, an athlete, and a citizen. The Missouri Valley Football Conference, where leaders are shaped and champions are forged.
And welcome back. I am here with retired Navy pilot and Top Gun instructor, Lieutenant Isaac Long, who is a 2017 NDSU Distinguished Alumni and Horizon Award recipient. So, in like the movie Top Gun, there's Goose and Maverick, two very famous call names. What was yours in the military?
My call sign was Alice.
And why is that?
So the short story is it was after the maid on the Brady Bunch. We, on our first cruise, had been on the boat for about 2 months, and we're making a port call in Dubai. And our squadron, so like our 17 pilots and a couple other officers, had rented a 4-bedroom apartment that we were going to stay in for the week that the ship was in port. And on the first night, we just like destroyed this place. And I was concerned that we were going to get kicked out and my time off the ship was going to get cut short. So I woke up early the next morning and like cleaned the entire apartment to try to preserve our vacation, and I was there after the maid.
And among all other things, I guess if you had to pick one just absolutely weird, kind of funny moment in your time in the military, what?
That's a tough question. Yeah. I think one of my favorite moments looking back was they have this thing every year. There's the Navy Ball on the Navy's birthday, and the Hornet community does the Strike Fighter Ball as our version of that. And when we were students, we got invited to the squadron's Strike Fighter Ball, and we went, my wife and I, and were hanging out with everybody, having a good time. And as we were going home, she starts telling all of our other friends' wives that they need to start having children. And it was one of the funnier things when I look back from stories that we tell. I don't know, I guess. Yeah.
All right, and so following retirement, how has your transition into a more civilian life been?
I think a little tougher than I expected, just from internally adapting to the differences between like military and civilian life. I was certainly like prepared for it, expecting it, and then just the changes was a little bit different. I think some of that had to do with I went into a grad school program, and so going back to kind of college life after working for 10 years was also a little strange to combine that. That being said, I think that it's a little, a couple years later, it's just kind of a shift, and it's different, but at the same time, it's not. It's just people, and they're just wearing, clothes instead of a uniform, and yeah.
And so what would you say to any, Fargo high schoolers or NDSU students who may be interested in joining the Navy or the military?
It's a great career path for the right people. There are some great opportunities that come out of it, whether it's the GI Bill or other education programs from a long-term perspective, from a just self-development. the military does a lot for you gaining confidence in, it puts you in some tough situations that you will be better prepared to handle like most of what life throws at you coming out the backside. That being said, it can be a challenging life, like, and you gotta, mentally be prepared for that going in.
And then for NDSU seniors such as myself, those who are about to graduate within 3 weeks here, do you have any advice for those kinds of people?
I think that when I think back to when I was in undergrad, I think that being a senior and like worrying about having a job and like our society puts a lot of pressure on people that like every decision and every singular event is like the most important event in your life. And if I could have at the time had somebody explain to me and been able to internalize like just the concept that like life goes on, like it's just one job, it's just one step along the way, and that if you know where you want to get to, figure that out, put in the work, and like if that particular opportunity doesn't work out, like there'll be another one. Like it'll, just kind of relax.
And thus life goes on. That is all the time we have for today. So thank you very much for joining me, and thank you for your service.
Thanks, Casey.
Have a good day.